Have you ever stood in front of a painting? Just a few splashes of color, a red dot on a white canvas, or a sculpture made of household junk, and wondered, how on earth is this worth millions of dollars? You are not alone. Modern art is one of the most controversial and misunderstood topics in the creative world. Some people see it as bold expression, others think it's nonsense wrapped in hype. But love it or hate it, there is one thing that's hard to ignore: the price tag. So why does modern art cost so much? In this video, we are going to break it down. Everything from how value is created, to the hidden power players, to the wilder world of auctions, and even the conspiracy theories involving money laundering and fake art. No fluff, no pretentious language, just a deep dive into how the modern art world really works. But first, let's clear something up. What exactly is modern art? Technically, modern art refers to a movement that began in the late 19th century and peaked in the mid 20th century, with artists like Picasso, Matisse, and Warhol breaking away from traditional styles. But today, when people say modern art, they often means contemporary art, the stuff being made now in the present day. We are talking about everything from abstract canvases and minimal sculptures to bizarre installations, conceptual pieces, and things that don't even look like art, like a urinal in a museum or a digital JPEG selling for $69 million. But here's the kicker. In the world of modern art, value isn't about beauty or skill. It's about perception, reputation, rarity, and power. And once you understand those ingredients, the price tags start to make a lot more sense. Ready to unravel the mystery? Let's start by looking at who actually decides what modern art is worth, and why their opinion matters so much more than yours or mine. So, who actually decides what a piece of modern art is worth? It's not like there's a universal price guide for creativity. There is no objective scale that says this painting is worth $1,000 and that one is worth $10 million. In fact, when it comes to modern art, the price is often less about the art itself and more about who is behind it. Let's introduce the invisible architects of the art world: galleries, curators, critics, dealers, and collectors. These are the people who shape taste, build reputation, and most importantly, create value. Imagine this: a young artist makes an abstract painting. On its own, it might be worth a few $100. But now, a well-known gallery puts it on display. A famous critic writes about it. A collector with influence buys it. Suddenly, that same painting is being talked about. It's being photographed. It's part of the conversation. And just like that, the price skyrockets. These tastemakers don't just reflect value, they manufacture it. And it's not always about merit. Sometimes it's about networking, timing, or even luck. The right name saying the right thing about the right artist at the right time can change everything. It's a bit like fashion. A t-shirt is a t-shirt until it has a designer logo on it. Then suddenly, it's not just cotton, it's status. In modern art, perception is the product, and the people who control perception, they control the price. But how does an artist become a brand? And why do certain names carry more financial weight than others? That's what we will dive into next. Let's talk about names. Not the names of the painting, the name of the artist. In the modern art world, the artist is the brand. Their name alone can carry more value than the materials they use or the message they are trying to express. Take someone like Damien Hirst, Jeff Koons, or Banksy. The art they create is often strange, minimal, or even mass-produced. But their names are worth millions. Why? Because their work isn't just buying an object, it's buying into a legacy. Just like Nike sells shoes, these artists sell identity. They represent ideas, rebellion, culture, or prestige. And collectors want to be associated with that. It's less about what they made and more about who made it. The bigger the brand, the higher the price. And just like fashion houses or luxury cars, artists can build their brand over time. or get skyrocketed to fame through controversy, hype, or viral moment. One clever stunt, one shocking installation, or one celebrity endorsement can change everything. But here is the catch. Once an artist becomes a brand, their work often gets produced at a larger scale. Assistants make the art, studios pump out variations. The personal touch gets lost, but the prices, they keep going up. Because at that level, it's no longer about originality, it's about ownership, about having something with that name attached to it. And the irony, sometimes the simpler or stranger the art, the more expensive it is, because it carries the bold signature of someone who became a cultural icon. So now we know art value isn't just about creativity, it's about celebrity. But even famous names need something else to push their prices into millions. They need exclusivity. Let's talk about how scarcity fuels the modern art market next. Let's be honest. Some modern art look like something a 5-year-old could make. So why is it still so expensive? Two words: scarcity and storytelling. First, scarcity. Like diamonds or vintage wine, modern art thrives on the idea of being rare. Even if a piece looks simple or mass producible, it can still command a high price if it's one of a kind or a part of a limited edition. Sometimes just declaring something rare makes it valuable. This is especially true with conceptual art. Imagine a plain white canvas. Alone, it's nothing. But if an artist says, "This is the only canvas like it, and it represents the silence of a generation," suddenly, it's a rare piece of intellectual property, and it's worth thousands, maybe millions. Then comes storytelling, the secret source of the value. Collectors aren't just buying objects, they are buying narratives, the artist's struggle, the cultural moment, the social message, the controversy, the critic's response, the gallery that hosted it, the celebrities who praised it. A painting of a red square isn't just a red square when it comes with a compelling backstory. This was created during the artist's silent protest against oppression. That one sentence can multiply its price tenfold. Even absurd pieces, a banana duct taped to a wall, for example, can become iconic when they generate a story. News, coverage, public debate, and social media buzz all feed the beast. And once that story spreads, the art becomes more than art, it becomes a piece of history, a moment captured in culture. So yes, it might look simple, but when something is both rare and meaningful, at least to the right people, the price can go through the roof. Still, there is another reason why prices get so high. One that has nothing to do with emotion or creativity. It has everything to do with money. Let's explore how art became a playground for investors. Let's step away from the gallery for a moment and into the world of finance. Because today, modern art isn't just bought for beauty or meaning. It's bought as a financial asset. For the ultra wealthy, buying art is like buying stocks, real estate, or even cryptocurrency. It's not just about owning something cool, it's about parking wealth in something that can grow in value over time. Here is how it works. Art doesn't depreciate like a car. If the artist becomes more famous, or if a piece becomes more iconic, its value can increase dramatically. That means art can be bought, held, and resold for profit. It's flipping, but with canvases. Even better, in many countries, art investments come with tax advantages. Some collectors store their pieces in offshore, tax-free storage facilities known as freeports, climate-controlled warehouses, where billions of dollars worth of art never even sees the light of day. It's wealth hiding in plain sight. And because art is subjective and not easily traceable, it becomes a powerful tool for asset diversification, estate planning, and even, let's say, less legal purposes. But we will get to that soon. Now you might be thinking, who's actually spending tens of millions of dollars on this stuff? The answer: hedge fund managers, real estate moguls, tech billionaires, and yes, even investment firms that manage portfolios of artwork just like they manage stocks. There are even fractional ownership platforms where everyday investors can buy shares in blue chip artworks the same way they would buy shares of Apple or Tesla. So, next time you see an abstract painting sell for the price of a private island, remember, for some people it's not a painting, it's a bank account. But how exactly do these prices get so high so fast? The answer lies in a very specific kind of theater, the art auction. And that's what we are looking at next. Now let us enter the dramatic, high-stakes world of art auctions, where million-dollar deals are made in minutes, and the price of painting can double with the raise of a paddle. Auctions might seem like simple transaction. You bid, you buy. But behind the scenes, they are carefully orchestrated show. One that often inflates prices, builds hype, and manipulates market value. Major auction houses like Christie's and Sotheby's don't just sell art, they manufacture desire. They use glossy catalogs, exclusive previews, and delayed guest list to build buzz long before the bidding even starts. And once you are in the room or watching online, the pressure is on. Every raised paddle, every nod from a phone bidder adds tension. The room feeds off competition, and in that heat, price rises, sometimes far beyond what the artwork would fetch in a private sale. But here's a twist. Not all bids are as organic as they seem. Auction houses often use guarantees, promises made to sellers that their artwork will fetch a minimum price. If no one bids that high, a third-party backer quietly steps in and buys it. It creates an illusion of demand and protects the seller from loss. And sometimes collector bids on their own art, directly or through proxies, to boost its public value, known as price pumping. It's a way to prove an art's worth and set a new benchmark for future sales. It's performance, it's psychology, it's market theater. And once an artwork sells at a record-breaking price, that number sticks. It becomes part of the story, feeding the next sale. It's a cycle, part hype, part business, all deeply strategic. But there's a darker side too, because when art becomes a game of inflated numbers and anonymous buyers, it opens the door to something much more controversial: scams, fakes, and money laundering. And yes, we are going there next. Alright, it's time to talk about the shadows. Because while modern art can be a symbol of culture and creativity, it can also be a cover for something else entirely: fraud, forgery, and financial crime. Let's start with a simple fact. Art is one of the least regulated markets in the world. Sales can be private, prices can be undisclosed, buyers and sellers often remains anonymous. There is no receipt that says this was a fair deal. And that makes the art a perfect playground for shady activity. One of the biggest concerns: money laundering. Here is how it works. Someone buys a painting with dirty money. They store it in a private collection or a tax-free warehouse, never revealing their identity. A few years later, they sell the same piece at an auction or to another buyer. Now the money from the sale is clean. It's no longer tied to its criminal origin. And because art is subjective, it's easy to justify widely different values. A canvas that sold for $5,000 5 years ago might now be worth $500,000 just because someone says it is. Then there is forgery. Fake artworks have infiltrated even the most prestigious galleries, and their collections have been built on counterfeits. In one famous case, a respected New York gallery unknowingly sold over $80 million worth of forged paintings over 15 years, many of which passed expert authentication. And let's not forget about insider manipulation. A collector might donate a work to a museum, boosting its percentage. Then they sell similar pieces by the same artist at auctions for a higher price. That's market engineering, playing chess with public perception. The point is, not everything in the art world is what it seems. Behind glittering auctions and glossy gallery shows, there's a network of loopholes, legal grey areas, and straight up cons. It's part of what makes the art world fascinating and dangerous. So, if it's all the risky, why do people still buy it? The answer lies in something even deeper than money: ego, status, and identity. Let's talk about that in the next part. So, after all we have uncovered, the hype, the manipulation, the scams, you might wonder, why do people keep buying modern art at high prices? The answer goes beyond aesthetics or investment. It's about ego, status, and identity. Owning an expensive piece of modern art is like wearing a designer watch or driving a luxury car. It sends a message: I have taste, I have wealth, I belong to an elite circle. For some collectors, it's a form of cultural and capital, a way to show off knowledge, sophistication, and influence. It's not just about the art on the wall. It's about the story they can tell at parties or auctions. And the exclusivity only adds to the allure. When a painting sells for tens of millions, it's not something you can just pick up at a store. It's a trophy, proof of success, a symbol of power. Even beyond individuals, corporations and institutions buy art to boost their own image. A flashy art collection can make a company look cutting edge, cultured, and prestigious. But there is also a deeper psychological pull. Owning art gives people a sense of connection to creativity and culture. It's a way to participate in something bigger, a legacy. So, even if the art world is messy and sometimes questionable, the desire to belong, to stand out, and to be remembered keeps driving prices upward. But is all this value real? Or is it just a smoke and mirrors? Let's explore that question next. So after everything we have discussed, it's natural to ask, is modern art really worth these crazy prices? Or is it all just hype? Critics argue that a lot of modern art's value is artificially inflated by clever marketing, exclusive circles, and the thirst for status. They say it's bubble, a fragile construct propped up by powerful dealers, auction houses, and wealthy collectors playing a game of one-upmanship. Some believe that much of modern art is little more than conceptual fluff. Where is the artist's reputation or the story behind the piece matter far more than the work itself? On the flip side, supporters say that modern art challenges traditional ideas, pushes boundaries, and reflects the complexities of our time. They argue that it's about innovation, expression, and cultural dialogue, and that true art cannot be measured in dollars alone. But whether you love it or hate it, the truth is that art market is driven by perception. The value depends less on intrinsic beauty and more on what people believe the art represents. And because perception can change quickly due to trends, media, or new discoveries, the market can be volatile. This means price can soar one year and crash the next. The $1 million masterpiece today might be tomorrow's forgotten relic. It's a risky game, filled with both brilliance and uncertainty. So, what does this say all about us as a culture? Why do we let markets and stories define what's valuable? That's a big question we will finish with the last part. So, what does the crazy world of modern art pricing tell us about ourselves? At its core, the high cost of modern art reflects how much we value storytelling, identity, and social connection. We live in a world where image matters, where owning something rare or branded becomes a way to express who we are or who we want to be. Modern art, with all its complexities, becomes a symbol of power, culture, and status. It also shows how much we are willing to blur the lines between commerce and creativity. Art is no longer just about beauty or expression. It's about business, influence, and sometimes manipulation. And maybe that's okay because culture isn't static. It evolves and sometimes it's messy and complicated. Modern art challenges us to rethink what value really means, whether it's monetary, emotional, or cultural. But it also reminds us to stay curious and critical, to question why we admire certain things, why we trust certain experts, and how much name or a story should influence what we consider valuable. At the end of the day, art reflects us, our dreams, our flaws, and our desires. So next time you see an outrageous price tag on a seemingly similar piece, remember, it's not just about the paint or the canvas. It's about us and the stories we tell ourselves about what matters. Thanks for watching. If you found this deep dive interesting, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more curious explorations. Thank you.